time to do part 3, and what will hopefully be the final part of this book haul. This year I made a pact with myself that I was going on a low buy in terms of books, but I already had a ton of books that I bought last year during quarantine / lockdown, whatever. So there is a part 1 and a part 2 to this video that I will leave the links to down below. This is what will hopefully be the final part, as I am trying very hard not to buy any more books this year, other than books that I have read, loved, possibly 5-starred, and want to read again. The first book I have here is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I am not great at reading classics, just in general. I could probably count on my hands like the amount of classics that I read. I've never read anything from Toni Morrison, and I've heard incredible things. This is about a black girl who prays that her eyes will turn blue so that she can be as beloved as other white children in her town. And then I believe that her wish is granted somehow and her life changes in different ways. I don't know a ton about this, but obviously it has a lot to do with racism, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I've heard incredible things. The next book I have here is Down a Dark Hall by Lois Duncan. Apparently, according to this book, Lois Duncan wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer. Didn't know that, haven't read the book, but I have watched the movie. This is about a girls' boarding school that I believe is haunted. I just want to read some more horror books. Obviously this I bought used, and hopefully it doesn't suck. It's very short, so even if it does suck, it'll be a quick read. The next books are all part of the same series, and that's The Siren by Tiffany Reisz, The Prince, and The Mistress. These are books 1, 3, and 4. Number 2 wasn't in stock when I bought these books in the original Sinner series. This series was my absolute favorite smutty read of last year. I have fallen in love with this series so hard. This is about an erotica writer and dominatrix named Nora Sutherland and her various exploits with different men in her life. She's an absolutely incredible, memorable heroine, and all the men in her life are pretty memorable as well. And I just love the depth of character that Tiffany Reisz puts into her smut work. It truly stands apart from any of the other smut I've ever read, and I highly recommend it. Next thing I have here is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I don't totally know what this is about. I know it's been turned into a movie, and I've always wanted to watch the movie because it has Andrew Garfield in it and I love him. But I've always been putting it off because I knew I wanted to read the book first. This has something to do with a special boarding school where these 3 kids are, and the friendship they form. And then I guess they're looking back on that time in their life. I really don't know a lot about it. I kind of think I might have heard a spoiler for it way back in the day, so I kind of think I know what that school is and why it's there, but I'm not absolutely positive, and I hope I'm wrong. The next book I have here is Adaptation by Malinda Lo. I don't totally know what this is about, other than that one day all these birds start acting crazy and they essentially sweep into the sky and kill a bunch of people on airplanes. This came out in 2012, back when I feel like there were a lot of dystopian-ish type books out there, or climate change books, lots of different subgenres, I guess. For some reason this one stuck out to me and I decided I wanted to read it. This isn't really normally the type of thing I read nowadays, but here it is. I bought it used. I saw it on sale. This is why I'm on a no buy. The next thing I have here is Arranged by R.K. Lilly. I read this last year? No, 2019, and absolutely adored it. This is a smutty romance novel that is a fake marriage / hate to love sort of situation, and I loved it so much. I think that R.K. Lilly is really great at writing sex scenes. This is the second book I've ever read by her, and once again, just absolutely adored it. I also think she wrote this relationship very well, because I find often when I read fake dating or fake marriage type of situations, I always find them absolutely ridiculous, and you wonder why they're being such assholes to each other. You wonder why they couldn't just communicate, or why they had to go through with this marriage at all. But in this one, I feel like most of the circumstances actually make sense. It makes sense why they don't like each other and why he's being such an asshole, but he's also just so over the line at being an asshole without being completely abusive. It's a good balance that I feel like R.K. Lilly manages really well. Next book I have is Pretending by Holly Bourne. So this is essentially about a girl who can't seem to get past the 5th date with guys, so she decides to start pretending to be the cool girl. She essentially models herself after some manic pixie dream girl friend of hers, and all of a sudden she finds dating really fun and easy and guys seem to like her. This just reminded me a lot of the cool girl monologue in Gone Girl, which is essentially why I picked this up, because I love that speech so much. So I'm hoping I like this. I'm hoping it doesn't skew too young, because like I said, young adult isn't necessarily my forte anymore, but I think this could be a fun, easy read. The next book I have is Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. This obviously was a huge book last year, but I obviously never got around to reading it yet. I feel like most people have probably heard this novel now because it's definitely made its round on BookTube. This is about two black sisters where one of them decides to grow up as white passing while the other sister continues to grow up in her black community. I literally have not heard a single bad review of this, so I am so looking forward to this. I was actually interested in Brit Bennett's The Mothers, but never picked it up because I'm not a mother and I thought maybe it wouldn't resonate with me quite as much, but I've heard actually really good things about that as well, so I might go back and pick that one up if I like this one. Next thing here I have is Lost and Found by Danielle Steel. I've never read anything by Danielle Steel before. I feel like there are a lot of popular authors that I kind of count out and I just assume that I'm not going to like their books, but I haven't tried them, so that's stupid. So I wanted to try something from her. This is about a woman who undergoes some sort of accident and decides afterwards that she wants to kind of look to her past. So she goes on a road trip to visit all the men she loved and didn't end up with, to see if maybe things could have gone a different way. I love those types of stories where you discover all the choices that could have been, so I think this could be interesting. Although it could be terrible for me because I'm not much into like the more girly sort of romance genre, but we'll see. The next thing I picked up is volumes 1 and 2 in the Space Boy comic book series. I'm not totally sure what this is about, other than it's about someone who grew up in space but decides to travel to Earth, and now she's in a world that she just isn't used to or something. Not totally sure, but I love comic series. I've heard good things about this one. I'm pretty much willing to pick up any comic series if I hear it's good and at least try it. So I found these on sale and I bought them. I also bought Books of Magic Volume 1 Movable Type by Neil Gaiman. So this takes place in the Sandman universe, which I actually hate, but somebody mentioned that Harry Potter was very clearly ripped off from this Neil Gaiman series, and I thought that was interesting and I wanted to check it out. As you can see, it definitely fucking looks like Harry Potter. And when I say it was ripped off, I don't mean from this comic series in particular. I mean the original text, I think. I'm not sure if there was... I know that Neil Gaiman has a lot of comic book adaptations of his original books, so I don't know if this was a book first or if this comic book came out. But either way, Harry Potter came after something. I originally looked into this, but that was like 6 months ago. I also have volume 2 of that around here somewhere. I also bought Talking to Strangers, a memoir of my escape from a cult. This is a graphic novel memoir. Like I said, I'll try any sort of graphic novel or comic book series, and cults are always fascinating, so I picked this one up when Chapters was having a sale. The next book I picked up is Mine by Emily Merrill. Emily is a booktuber here on YouTube, so I will leave her link down below. She got this book published and I wanted to support. I don't know a ton about this. All I know is that it is about a toxic, abusive relationship, and that sort of subject always fascinates me. I think it's really interesting and I love to see media about it. The next book I have is He Must Like You by Daniel Young Ullman. This is about a girl who gets sexually harassed, who eventually pushes back and then has to deal with the fallout of her actions. Or more likely his actions and her reactions, but you know how that goes. I love that this is called He Must Like You because I feel like all women have heard that sentence come out of people's mouths when they're getting harassed by a man, and I think this will be a great, hopefully, feminist take. And I think this will be a great dissection of that sort of reaction. Next thing I have is Little White Lies by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is about a girl who gets bribed by her grandmother to enter into the debutante season. she accepts because she wants to figure out who her father is, and she thinks that'll get her closer to an answer. It sounds really fun. I always enjoy kind of the dissection of any sort of pageant type of thing. Little Miss Sunshine is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I picked this up. Once again, I'm not into YA anymore, but hopefully I will enjoy this one. Another book by Jennifer Lynn Barnes is The Lovely and the Lost. This is about a girl who was once stranded in the wilderness and had to survive, who now decides to become a search and rescue operator. And one day she is tasked with finding a missing child. I've always wanted to check out more wilderness stories because I think they can be very atmospheric. They're not normally my forte, but that's also because I just haven't tried a ton of them out. The next thing I have is The Reckless Oath We Made by Bryn Greenwood. Bryn Greenwood likes to write about unconventional love stories, it seems. This seems to be about a girl who is down on her luck and a autistic guy who decides to protect her. I'm not totally 100% sure. The next book I have here is another book by Holly Bourne, which is The Places I've Cried in Public. This is about a girl who's retracing her love story and how it went wrong. I absolutely loved the title to this. For whatever reason, that really spoke to me, and like I said before, I really like books about toxic relationships and the dissection of that, so I picked this one up. It has pretty sprayed edges, and I'm actually really looking forward to this one. The next book I have here is The Lightness by Emily Temple. I think this has to do with a cult of some sort. The main girl's father left to go to this meditation retreat, and she decides to retrace his steps to try and find him, but soon finds herself brought into this, what I'm assuming is a cult. Like I said, love a good cult book. Next book I have here is What Kind of Girl by Alyssa Sheinmel. Sheinmel? I don't know. This is about a high school where a boy abuses his girlfriend, and all of the girls want to rally around the girl to get the boy expelled, while all the guys, of course, want to rally around him and say that it was her fault. Another book. Clearly, I have a type of young adult book. This is like the third book in this deck that has to do with abusive relationships, but I love that this one focuses more on a high school's reaction to that sort of thing. And hopefully this will be done well. Next I have What Unbreakable Looks Like by Kate McLaughlin. This has to do with human trafficking and a girl who ends up there. Obviously, very dark subject matter, but something I'm interested in. So I have seen some bad reviews of this book saying that it uses AAVE language, despite the fact that the writer is white. So that's something I'm going to be cautious about going in, and something that you should take into consideration as well if you're thinking about picking up this book. The next thing I have is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is about a woman who is looking back on her life and her time in the New York club scene, I guess, in the 50s or 40s. And talking about all the relationships and fun and whatever that she had during that time. Many people have compared it to The Lives of Evelyn Hugo. I think that's what it's called. I haven't read that book. I will at some point, but I'm really looking forward to this one. And then the last book here is The Parcel by Anash Irani. I'm going to read the back of this book because I don't remember the synopsis to it. Madhu is a eunuch who has spent most of her life in a close-knit clan of transgender sex workers in Kamathapura, the notorious red light district of Bombay, India. She identifies herself as a Hijra, a person belonging to the third sex, neither man nor woman. Now, at 40, she has moved away from prostitution and is forced to beg on the streets to support the charismatic head of her Hijra clan, Guru Mai. One day, Madhu receives a call. A parcel has arrived, code for a young girl who has been trafficked from the provinces, and Madhu must prepare it for its fate. Despite Madhu's reluctance, Guruma forces her to take the job. As Madhu does her skilled work, her emotions spiral out of control, and her past returns to haunt her, threatening to unravel a lifetime's carefully constructed identity. I picked up this book on a whim because I saw it on sale, but it sounds very powerful and interesting, and I can't wait to read it. So those are the books. Those are the last of the books that I bought last year in 2020. Hopefully this will be the last book haul you see from me until the end of the year, when I can maybe haul all the books that I've loved and I'm just adding to my collection. I hope you like this video, and I hope you like this video, and I hope you'll come back in soon. Bye.